You know that highly specific, just mounting frustration when you get put on hold with customer service.
Oh, absolutely. The worst.
Right, not just a brief pause, but that endless, agonizing loop of generic elevator music,
Yeah.
where minutes literally start to feel like hours.
Yeah, you can practically feel your blood pressure climbing with every repetitive chime.
Exactly. And the sheer powerlessness of just, having to sit there and wait, it's maddening.
It really is a profound test of human psychology. I mean, we are wired for resolution.
Right. We want an answer.
Exactly. When we're trapped in this state of limbo, the brain interprets that uncertainty as a threat. We crave a way out, some sort of forward momentum.
But imagine if that hold music wasn't a 30-minute wait for a refund. Imagine if it lasted for 2 straight years.
Wow. 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. And the stakes were your literal freedom. So, welcome to Zion Recap.
Glad to be here.
We're so glad you're joining us today. Today, we are pulling apart the sermon recap from Zion CC. This is the one delivered on July 26th, 2026, by Pastor Roy.
Right, which is the second to last message in what has been an incredibly deep series on the book of Acts.
It really has been. Okay, let's unpack this. We're looking at how you can survive the waiting room of life without taking an exit ramp and abandoning your purpose.
It's such a relatable concept.
It is, and we're exploring how believers can stay on the path God has called them to, whether they are facing intense suffering or, surprisingly, extreme success.
Which can be just as distracting, right?
Totally. And just a warm reminder for you listening, we're only scratching the surface today. To hear the full message, you should definitely visit Zion CC's YouTube page and find the video with the same title as today's episode.
Framing this overarching narrative, Pastor Roy's core message points out that the central theme here is the unwavering nature of God's calling. Like when God speaks, his word has no expiration date.
Right. It doesn't just fade away because things got hard.
Exactly. It remains unaffected by our shifting circumstances. The tension in these passages is identical to our modern human experience.
For sure. So let's go back to that 2-year waiting period. We're in Acts chapters 23 and 25, and we find the Apostle Paul in this exact terrible scenario.
Yeah, it's a bleak situation.
He is facing these completely unreasonable, fabricated charges.
Yeah.
Dragged before councils who, honestly, they can't find a single legitimate legal violation to pin on him.
Nothing at all.
Right. Yet, because of political maneuvering, he is left just rotting in a cell for 2 years.
And this isn't a modern facility. It's a first-century Roman prison.
Exactly. So it's dark, it's isolating, and he's entirely forgotten. It's literally like being put on hold on a customer service call for 2 straight years, but it's for your literal freedom.
That analogy is spot on.
I mean, how do you not completely snap? He doesn't riot. He doesn't curse his captors. He remains totally civil.
Which defies human nature.
It really does. I lose my patience in slow-moving traffic. 2 years of unjust imprisonment would rot most people from the inside out with bitterness.
What's fascinating here is the underlying architecture of Paul's composure. We tend to view him as having this superhuman willpower.
Right, like he's just wired differently.
But his endurance was actually tied to a specific promise. Prior to this, Jesus had stood by him and explicitly promised that he would make it to Rome.
Oh, right. So he already knew the outcome.
Exactly. Because Jesus stood by him, that guarantee functioned as an anchor. Paul knew his ultimate destination, so the delay lost its power to destroy his hope.
Oh. So it was a miserable waiting room, but it wasn't the end of the story.
Right. And because of that, Paul could follow the command we see in Romans 12 to repay no one evil for evil and leave vengeance to God.
He isn't just white-knuckling it. He's resting on that promise. And Pastor Roy points out this fascinating dynamic about how the world expects more from believers in these moments.
And there's a reason for that. We live in a broken world. Humanity is desperate to see good people.
They really are.
They want tangible proof that integrity is possible. This is why Jesus calls believers the light of the world in Matthew 5:19.
So that people see the good works and glorify God.
Exactly. The light is designed to be highly visible to shatter that cynicism.
But that brings up a huge transition point, right? If the world is watching our behavior so closely, how exactly are we supposed to explain the reason we're acting this way without sounding haughty?
That is the perpetual trap, yeah.
Because people film themselves doing good deeds for internet clout all the time now.
Right. It's all about optics. But this is where Peter provides a masterclass. In 1 Peter 3:15, he says to be prepared to make a defense for your hope.
Yes, the defense of hope.
But notice how it has to be done. It must be with gentleness and respect.
Which Pastor Roy leans heavily into. He asked, and I want to ask you listening to this right now, when people ask you about spiritual things, do you sound like a believer, or do you just try to shout louder than everyone
A
else?
lot of people choose shouting, unfortunately.
Right. Do you adopt the world's playbook of reviling and anger?
We can't do that. The foundation of sharing our hope has to be gentleness. We are called to bless. If you defend the gospel with aggression, you're weaponizing grace, which contradicts the whole thing.
Totally.
Furthermore, the central hope the early church preached wasn't just about moral superiority or even just miracles. The bedrock was the resurrection.
And what I love is how Pastor Roy brought this into the real world. Zion isn't just posting Christian values on Facebook. They are living them out in the dirt of the community.
Which is the only way to do it.
Absolutely. Like every Tuesday and Thursday at 6:00 p.m., they are out there harvesting vegetables for the local food bank.
That is Matthew 5.14 in action.
Literally putting it into the soil. And Pastor Roy gives a specific shout out to the faithful work of Rogelio, Letty, Juan, and Eva.
Right. They've been running the snack shack for years.
For years. Just quiet, unglamorous dedication. You add in the ushers, the security team, the Sunday school teachers equipping the kids.
It's a massive ecosystem of service. And really, this is Galatians 6.9 in action. Not growing weary of doing good.
Because it's hard to keep showing up.
It is. It's easy to volunteer for one high-profile event. But showing up on a random Tuesday, year after year, that relentless faithfulness creates an undeniable defense of the gospel.
I see how doing good keeps us on track. But, and I think you brought this up earlier, what happens when the path God calls us to seems completely illogical to everyone around us?
The narrative takes a really sharp turn here into that exact conflict.
Yeah, let's look at Acts 26. Paul is standing trial before King Agrippa.
Who is a man given massive authority by the emperor to rule and even choose chief priests.
Right, he's a big deal. And Agrippa admits Paul has done nothing to deserve death. He even tells Festus that Paul could have been set free if he hadn't appealed to Caesar.
It's a huge what-if moment.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I have to play devil's advocate for a second. Didn't Paul make a massive mistake here?
How so?
Well, he used a legal loophole that locked him into going to Rome as a prisoner when he could have just walked free. Did he accidentally trap himself?
Evaluated through human logic, yes. Agrippa was right legally, but he was fundamentally wrong spiritually.
Oh, okay.
Jesus had already told Paul he must testify in Rome. There is no plan B for God. If Paul had taken the exit ramp of freedom in Jerusalem, he might have been murdered.
Because there was a plotted ambush waiting for him, right?
Exactly. He would have stepped right into a trap and missed God's ultimate calling.
So the open door looked like freedom, but it was actually a detour.
Yes. And Rome was the capital of the empire. It was the most strategic place to disseminate the gospel to the rest of the world. God needed him there.
That completely flips how we view obstacles. We usually think if something is incredibly difficult, it must be a sign we took a wrong turn.
Our instinct for self-preservation is strong. When suffering hits, we want to retreat.
Which brings us to the story of Dina. Pastor Roy solemnly shared this deeply personal story about his late friend.
It's a very powerful testimony.
She helped found the church and mentored him in ministry, but she faced severe suffering. She lost her husband, she lost certain ministry opportunities, and then got a cancer diagnosis.
All of those things would normally make someone quit. Society completely understands stepping back when you face that level of compounded grief.
Any one of those things would be an exit ramp for most people. But Dina didn't take it. In fact, Pastor Roy pointed out she pressed forward faster.
She accelerated into her calling.
Yes. She went to stay with Pastor Roy's brother to learn more about prayer ministry because she knew her calling. She didn't let the pain dictate her purpose.
And you can see that resilience living on in her children, Aaron, Dara, and Caleb.
Exactly. But then Pastor Roy pivots, and this really challenged me. He notes that success can be just as distracting as suffering.
Oh, absolutely. Success is highly insidious.
Look at Peter in Luke 5. We usually think of winning as a confirmation we're doing the right thing.
But consider Peter's context. He's a professional fisherman, and he just had a terrible night, caught nothing. Then Jesus tells him to drop the nets one more time, and he has the most successful day of his entire career.
It's a miraculous catch. It literally sinks 2 boats.
Generational wealth pulled up in an afternoon, but right at the pinnacle of his career, Jesus tells him to walk away and catch men.
Which makes 0 logical sense.
Yeah.
If my business explodes in one day, I assume God wants me to build bigger barns.
This raises an important question for the listener. Are you letting the sudden success of your career or personal life distract you from what God actually commanded you to do.
Oh, wow. So we settle for the lesser victory because it's comfortable.
Exactly. Unprecedented success can convince you that you've arrived and you abandon your actual purpose.
Whether it's Paul in a waiting room, Dina pushing through griefs, or Peter walking away from the biggest payout of his life, it's all the same principle.
They didn't let their external conditions rewrite their obedience.
Which leads right into the scripture Pastor Roy brought back from Camp Reed, Galatians 5:25. If we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit.
Keeping in step requires incredible focus.
It really does. God gives you, listening right now, unique gifts, skills, and relationships, and expects you to use them without getting distracted by the pain or the success.
You are uniquely positioned.
And hey, if you ever need clarification or have questions about anything you've heard today, please come to small group on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. We'd love to talk with you in person and dive deeper into the sermon.
It's such a great community resource.
It really is. And to catch the latest sermon, you can join Zion CC on Sunday at either 9 or 11 a.m.
I want to leave the listener with a final thought to mull over today.
Wait for it.
If God's call in your life remains constant, regardless of whether you are in a season of painful waiting like Paul or unprecedented abundance like Peter, what exit ramp are you most tempted to take right now? And what would it look like to trust that God has no plan B for you?
That is a phenomenal question to sit with. And just a quick note before we wrap up, Zion uses AI tools to help summarize information, sermons, and common questions.
Yep.
While the team works really hard to keep everything accurate, AI can sometimes make mistakes or hallucinate.
Always good to double-check the source material.
Exactly. Thanks for hanging out with us on Zion Recap today. We will catch you next time.